Welcome to Behind the Visual, a podcast where I interview all the people responsible for creating, putting together, and producing the images and videos you see out in the world every single day. I am your host, lifestyle and advertising photographer, Mark Hansen, and today my guest is a great photographer, Drew Meredith. You can see Drew's work at drewmeredith.com. Drew is one of the guys who has that rare, ability to see both sides because he's been on both sides of hiring the photographer and actually being the photographer. And Drew is currently now the global senior photographer for Wilson, which is a pretty sweet gig, I would imagine. So thank you, Drew, for doing this. I appreciate it.
No problem.
So let's start off with, like I do pretty much everybody. Tell me how you got into this whole gig of being a photographer and what made you want to do it.
Interesting. I grew up in LA, and I always had a passion for it. Actually, it all started in high school. This friend of mine, she just we're seniors in high school, and she goes, "Hey, we don't have any class together. Let's do a class together." And I go, "Awesome. What do you want to do?" And she goes, "Hey, let's do this photography class." I know nothing about it. Awesome. Let's do it. So we took this class, and it started out. And the teacher that was in high school, of all places, he was super smart, and just the way he approached things. And the very first time I developed an image, like in the darkroom on paper, it was, I was amazed by the whole process. And that just kind of started the kindling, I guess, that started the fire. And from there, after I went into college, and I went just local to Pasadena High School, and started taking some design classes, and had a friend who went to this art school in Pasadena. It's called Art Center College of Design. Hey, come on, come look at school, and let's have lunch. Went and had lunch with him up there. The school was like no school I've ever seen before. I'm like, what is this all about? And so he took me all around and spent the day with him. And from that moment, I was hooked, and I thought, okay, that's the school I want to go to because I'm such a horrible student. This is a school like reading books and vomiting up knowledge is just not my thing. But doing things that's more hands-on. That was I really enjoyed that. So my goal from that point was to go to that school, and so I got accepted. Went to Art Center. Absolutely loved my time there. The hardest I've ever worked in my life because they demanded it of you. Great school. And then from there, it just kind of took off after that.
So once you got out of school, what was your first gig out of school?
I think my very first gig was I assisted. Of course, when I came out of school, I felt like I knew everything.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
I came out, and I worked for a gentleman named Doug Taub. He was a car photographer. I had a bunch of friends that were, obviously in debt. Now they're out of school, and I'll take any assisting gig I can get my hands on to shoot anything. And I think I took a little different direction in doing that. I don't know if you guys remember the Black Book or the Workbook.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, Workbook's still around, but in digital form.
I went through it, and I just wanted to work with photographers I felt that I could learn something from, and that I really respected. I love their work, so this is the direction I'm going to go to. So I turned a bunch of stuff down, and I was lucky enough to get in with a gentleman named Doug Taub. He was a car shooter. I didn't have really any interest shooting cars, but I just felt like this is a great place to start. They pay more, but they're much longer hours. And so I started my very first gig. I was blown away by this guy because he in LA, there's movie studios all over the place. He was basically renting out the entire Renmar Studios in Hollywood. There's 8 stages there, and he had 7 of them. And
wow.
He was in every single stage. There was an Oldsmobile and a Lexus and a Nissan and this guy.
So he was shooting like 7 different things all at one time, pretty much?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. And so I was kind of blown away by that whole thing. And he was like the grumpiest guy ever, but the deep down, he was very nice. And so I kind of realized that, but I also realized that, like someone once told me, a good assistant is a mind reader. He goes, all you got to do is be a mind reader. I'm like, oh, awesome. That's easy.
That's an easy gig right there.
I think we were shooting Volvo at the time, and he had 5 cars out there. And he was walking around, and he shot everything hot lights. It was really amazing to watch him work. And I know, so he started on one side, and kind of there's 4 lights over here and 4 lights over here, big 5Ks. And I noticed he starts walking over there, and I noticed there isn't a little bag of scrims on that one light. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to lose his marbles. And so I look around, I found one, I run over to him, and just as I get to him, he's like, God! He starts screaming, boom, got it, buddy. And he's like, awesome. And so he got it. And then he, the next day I showed up, he goes, he couldn't remember my name, so he called me Swimmer. He's like, hey, Swimmer.
All right, why Swimmer?
I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. Even his first and his other shooter, he's like, I don't know. Whatever. I was just tall and skinny. But he goes, hey, come here. I got a special assignment for you. And I walk into this other set, and I guess they were done shooting there, and he had his grip truck in there. And I thought, oh man, he's gonna make me clean out his grip truck. And he had like this custom killer grip truck, and it was really neat. But he 8x10 camera, and he went and he bought this 1959 Porsche Speedster hood. Took it, got it completely detailed back down to metal, bare metal, and a perfect body shop, paint job. Everything's gorgeous on this thing. He goes, you're going to shoot my promo. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, you're kidding me. And he goes, oh yeah. And then I want you to be my number 2. I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, you're a full-time second assistant. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
This is amazing. And so I got we set it all up, and I get, 8x10 Polaroid, and I go, here you go. And he's like, okay, this is great. We're ready. I go, yeah, I'm ready. And he goes, all right. And he takes out a pocket knife and then carves he carves it. Taub was here, or is here, because this was a European promo that he was doing. And I thought, this is the most badass thing I've ever seen. And it's like, oh, it's such a killer thing. He refined the light and did all this stuff, but just carving his name into this brand new pristine hood was, that is killer. And so that kind of just set it off. And then he let me, as I spent time with him, he allowed me to shoot like accessories and other stuff. And, and it was nice because he coached me along the way, and I learned a lot of stuff, and especially working with art directors and designers, as they're coming in and out all the time. But he had a very special way about him. It was something.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Wow. Okay, I remember there's some story about a photographer you worked with, some very famous dude. Who was that?
Matthew Rolston.
Matthew Rolston. I think that was it. Yeah.
Greg Gorman. Both of them phenomenal fashion photographers.
Which one had the spotlight?
Matthew Rolston.
Tell me that story.
He was just a cat. He went to Art Center, and he would come back to school, and he was awesome. He would come back to school, and this one fashion class was always on Friday, and so he'd come back, and he would, along with our teacher, he would kind of help out, and he'd bring models occasionally. And
did he go to school there, and that's why he came back, or he just?
He did. Yeah,
okay.
He was an Art Center alumni, and but just super nice guy, and he just pulled me aside one day and said, "Hey, I want you to come work for me on a job." I'm like, okay. And so I went, and he, the very first day, I get to the studio, and his producer's there, and so I come in, and I'm looking around. I don't know what what do you want me to do? And he goes, "Oh, Matthew, will be down in a minute." The client comes in, and I'm like, I don't know what to do, and all of a sudden,
is this your first time assisting?
Yeah. All of a sudden, the spotlight comes on the spiral staircase, and he comes walking down. And it's like, oh, dude, this guy. But he was awesome because he just said, they're still a lot of lessons. A lot of people just want a dog and pony show, or to be entertained, or to be fed, or something just to get out of the office and stuff. So he always said, it's about a show, and I'm providing that show for these people. And like, wow, and so I kind of took that into when I started, not that I had a spotlight and came down the staircase, but I did have a studio where we had a room that had, video games, as archaic as they were at the time, but there's still a place that they could just go.
You have like Atari in there?
Yeah, and you could go back and forth and bring them Polaroids. He's like, yeah, I love this, or no, I hate this, or whatever it was, but I did kind of take that to heart and make sure like there was always something. We always had good food on set, no matter what. We had a caterer that we always used, and they would bring in food, and we always had a good time, which made it, I think, a lot of repeat customers.
Yeah, well, that's good. I've heard the show thing is pretty big. I was working with a guy one time, and he said he knew a photographer that he worked with. This is my assistant, and was saying that this guy would rent lights just to have them all sitting in the studio, and would rent like, extra lenses and stuff and have them sitting out for the client just to see, and then not use any of it. Use like one light, and had like 5 that he had rented. He's charged, but the bad thing was this dude's charging everything back to the client. So the client's paying for this rental and everything just so he can show off and try and look like some kind of impressive photographer for these clients.
I'm not when it came to my studio, it had to be, it gave me ADD because I'd be so grossed out by how cluttered it is. That would just drive me nuts. I couldn't do that. Yeah.
I've never have done that, so I never really understood it. But he said this guy did it all the time.
It's weird though. Why? They're not paying you to like, oh, look at all the equipment I have. I don't. I think as an art director or something, I wouldn't be. I'm only hiring you because I know you can give me good photography. Does this make me good photography? I don't know, but I'm expecting. I don't know. That sounds like quite a scam to me.
Yeah, and I think I can see maybe some newer art producers maybe being impressed by all the stuff. But I have a photographer friend, well, I guess he's about to retire. This dude, he shot, with some of the top end cameras, but then he'll shoot stuff with just like almost like a point and shoot. Not quite the point and shoot, but DSLR. But sometimes he said, I've shot low level cameras because that's all I had at the time because my other one was broken or whatever. And he said the client had no clue. So because it comes down to, how you shoot it. I think Tammy, what's the guy's name? Pete Salza shot all the stuff for Obama. Yeah. He put up a thing on Instagram, and it had 2 shots outside that he had shot in the snow at night. One he did with his DSLR on a tripod at a 2-second shutter opening. The other one he did with his new iPhone 11 Pro with the night mode on there. And to look at the two of them side by side, unless you zoomed in and looked at just where the shadow is in the track, it looked like a bicycle track in the snow. Yeah. Unless you zoomed in and saw that there's more detail in the DSLR shadow than there was in the iPhone 11 shadow, you couldn't tell the difference between the two. And Tammy saw that and she's like, oh, great. Now everybody's going to think they're a photographer even more than they already do. I said, well, it's kind of like somebody having a Viking oven or range or whatever, and then you walk in the house and go, oh, I bet you're a great cook because they've got a really nice, oven. I said, it still comes down to, how you see things and how you frame it and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people get freaked out. Like, yeah. And knowing how to light things and all that stuff.
Oh, that.
So did you only work for Matthew Rolston that one time, or did you work for him multiple times?
A couple times. And I kind of bounced around for the first 2 or 3 years, assisting Bob Greg Gorman.
How was Greg Gorman?
Phenomenal. Wonderful human being.
Yeah.
Only worked for him not 2 or 3 times, but phenomenal.
But still.
Yeah. I think he's now in Mendocino County somewhere, on a wine vineyard and making wine and teaching photography.
Yeah. Photography is now his hobby.
Yeah. But he can afford it. That's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. I bet you learned a lot working from these dudes.
Incredible. Yeah. Just an amazing amount. And that was the thing. I think it's not necessarily, I'm there working. I'm actually watching. And I spent most of my time doing that, watching, seeing how they because coming out of school, I didn't, I've never worked other than with other classmates. So, they're art directors who, people who wanted to study in art directing or design, and we had worked together on projects, but never worked in the real world. Like, hey, this is a real deal.
Yeah, that's a big difference between here's a budget and you got an art director who's afraid they're going to lose their job.
For sure.
If you screw it up, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely something on the line. So it was really fascinating watching them work and how they worked and how they interacted with the art director. I'm not the most outgoing, and I'm really struggle at initial meetings. Right. And so it was fascinating to watch. So I think assisting was great, and I learned a lot photographically. But watching them interact was the best education.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that's a big part of it, I think, is watching them or learning how to interact with the art directors, creative directors, all those people on set, for sure. Absolutely. Man.
Yeah.
What pushed you out of assisting? What made you go full time?
Well, finally, I just actually it was Doug Taub who came along and said, "Look, man, you're shooting all this stuff for me. Why aren't you shooting on your own?" I'm like, "Well, I'm I don't know, I'm an idiot. I don't know." And he goes, "Let me introduce you to this art director, and he's starting his own thing, and he does a bunch of these accessory things that you've been shooting, and this is just a natural progression for you to get out and do your own thing." So he goes, you can come wherever I'm at, and you can utilize the space and utilize the lights and
oh wow,
whatever you want." And I go, that's phenomenal. And he's like, "Yeah, let's do it." He goes, "Someone did it for me, and so I want to pass it to you." I'm like, that's super nice. And so he was also transitioning into commercials now. So like at that time, like we were losing work or
right.
Not going to be working so much with him. And so he was moving towards video. And so I'm like, "Oh, this is a great opportunity." So I took it, and kind of never looked back after that. And that turned into, this art director started his own agency, and then he hired a couple more people. And then I also had some people from school that I was working with or knew, and then they started giving me work, and it kind of just snowballed. And so I would rent a space for whatever I needed for when I started shooting on my own. And then it turned into, I was able to rent a really nice 5,000 square foot a space that I turned into my studio, which was phenomenal. I mean, I just loved it. Big roll-up door I could ride my motorcycle in, and I could park it inside, and had a huge parking space, and basketball court outside. It was really super fun. Super.
And this was in LA?
Yeah, it's actually on the east side of Pasadena.
Okay. You riding your motorcycle in between the cars down the highway and all that stuff?
Well, luckily I lived in La Cañada or La Crescenta, and so it wasn't, I could ride my
you didn't have to deal with it.
And so I never highways. I was just on the streets. Yeah. No, I'm not that crazy.
Dude, those dudes freak me out, man. When I'm in there and I look and I see one coming down, all I'm thinking is, what if some idiot decides that he's left something in his trunk and opens his door to get out real quick and get it out of the trunk and just takes that dude out?
Yeah, it's a possibility. I have a lot of friends that used to ride motorcycles there, and they used to do it all the time. It always freaked me out. I do it occasionally, but I haven't been back in years, so I don't know what it's like now, but it was crazy then.
Dude, last time I was out there, it was horrible. And that was, I don't know, a few months ago, November maybe. So, yeah, it was, traffic still was bad.
Yeah, welcome to, I think it looks like everywhere traffic's bad. Everywhere we go, it's like, oh my God, traffic's bad.
Yeah. Hell, here it's getting worse. It's gotten to the point where if I want to leave my neighborhood, there's 3 ways to leave the neighborhood. 2 of them have lights you can get out, and 1 doesn't. And the easiest one to get out or the fastest one to get out is the one without a light. But if you want to leave and go take a left, dude, after 3:30, you might as well give it up. You got to go out the other way. Traffic's horrible.
The beauty of North Carolina, everyone thinks they're race car drivers.
Yeah, they do. Big old NASCAR fans.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. I love it when it rains too, because they don't slow down and then they hit the brakes and they just keep on sliding right into the person in front.
Everyone thinks, we have the best driver, we're the best driver. And I've, now traveled around a bit, and I'm like, I think for me, North Carolina was the worst drivers.
Oh, that's good. You've been a few places, so that's good to know that we're number one.
Yeah, we're number one. Yeah.
Well, if you're going to do something, be the best at it.
Yeah, really.
Oh my God. Hey, how'd you get over to Coldwater Creek? You shot for them, right? You were like, wasn't that who you shot for?
Did. I had my studio in Pasadena for about 15 years. And then
wait, before you go on, what was the best part or the best client shoot, whatever you had when you were in Pasadena with your own studio? Was there anything like one client that you loved or some shoots that you were just like, this is great? I love this shit.
Gosh, I'm trying to remember. I can't remember her name. I had a couple art directors. One from the Art-Time group, but it was Pasadena. He was a friend of mine. Henry is the owner of the company. Phenomenal guy, just a great guy to be with. Would rib me nonstop, but I could give it right back to him. It was a great working relationship where we just had.
That's nice when you can do that.
Sometimes
yeah.
we shot really boring things, but we always had fun. And it never failed. One of the best, or actually, it was a big client. Bon Appetit magazine was one of my big clients, and there was a total freedom because. So
you were shooting a lot of food.
Yes, at that time.
I'd rather be shot in the head.
Yeah, well, it's different. The beauty is I had the best food stylist in the world, Carol Peterson. I think she's probably retired now, but the most incredible lady. And actually, I met her because I heard that she had taught a class at Art Center years ago, and there was a class I didn't necessarily want to take, and I went to the chairperson and I said, "Hey, is there any way I could do an independent class?" And my thought was I want to ask this lady, Carol Peterson, food stylist, and he goes, "That's a great idea." He goes, "Let's do that." So, but he put it all on me. Like, you got to go find her, you got to ask her, you got to make up what you're gonna do. And so I called her, and she was just like, "Oh yeah, I love my time teaching there." And she goes, "I'll do that again." I go, "It's just one-on-one with her." And the class was, I would just go with her one day a week to a job, and I would assist the photographer, and then I would watch what she does. And same thing, right? It was about observing and seeing how she interacts with the client and the photographer. It was fascinating. And then on Saturday, she would come to school, and first she'd just look at your book or talk to you about what you want out of this class. And she goes, "If you're going to be a food photographer, this is what you need." And so she said, "You need a hamburger, a hot dog, a salad, a this, a that, a this." And then she goes, "And that's what we're going to do." I'm like, awesome. And so I walked out of Art Center with a portfolio. I got 15 images that are food stylist and she would just go, she was like the most laid back, cool person. And she's like, "Oh, you want to do it like this?" And she gave me like, for a hot dog, "How do you want the mustard? Like this or like this?" Or like, she gave me like 7 options. I'm like, "Ooh, that one." And she just put it together, and it's just like, this is incredible. And so I got a lot of food clients, mostly because of her. When the class was done, she goes, "I had so much fun doing this." She goes, "When you get out there, I would love to work with you." And I'm like,
"Oh, wow."
Awesome. And so I got my very first client, and I called her, and she goes, I'm open. She goes, "This is great." And a business class, the guy just, I think in passing, just said, "Never make your stylist make you coffee, like first thing in the morning." So I'm like, that's interesting. And I just remember that. And I knew she was coming, so I made coffee, and I didn't drink coffee at the time, and I made coffee. I'm like, "Man, I hope this is right." And she came, and I go, "Carrie, you want some coffee?" And she's like, "I would love some." She's like, "Oh my gosh, it's so refreshing. I always have to make coffee for everybody." I'm like,
"Really?
It paid off, yeah!"
Wow.
And it was awesome. She was phenomenal. But it was just, and all that. I just totally forgot what you asked me. I guess
you were talking about shooting for Bon Appetit coming up.
Yeah. So there was a bunch of freedom there where they would just send you a layout. They would never even come to the studio. And so, it was just food stylist and my assistant, and we would just have a fun day. And it was always kind of like that. They would never really show up, and we'd just send them on a messenger at the time. We'd send So we would just hang out, and wait for it to come back, and we'd come back. Oh, this is great, and it'd be all marked up, 8x10, all marked up Polaroid, and then we'd shoot, and, send them, final, and they're like, awesome, or not awesome, but it was generally just, oh, great. So yeah, that was really fun. That was a great time. But magazines are hard to come by.
That's a lot of trust right there.
It was, but it didn't just happen.
Right.
Having the trust in me and the trust in Carol, that just made it really. I think it freed them up so they could continue to work and not have to drive out to Pasadena from Culver City and stuff like that.
What were you doing to get clients back then? Because it's not as if you could email them.
No, it was all hard promo pieces. So that was one thing. My very first promo piece, I put together handmade book. It's just really small, but it was. I found this kind of a love story out of this book, and it was just described this dinner. And so all it was it was just torn. It was so labor intensive. My wife wanted to kill me because it was all like just tearing paper, and putting it on and. What it was it was a little book hand tied with raffia and wax stamp and a handmade envelope, and it was stupid, but it looked really beautiful. And so it was just as you read the story, the space in between was a piece of vellum, had a little part of the story on it, and then you turn the page, and it's like, drinks. And so there's I had a photo of like some cocktail, and then you turn the page and it talked about they're going to go to dinner and have this incredible meal, and you turn the page and the first thing is a salad, and then you keep reading the story and you turn the page and then there was a soup, and then there was a appetizer, and then there was a dinner, and then dessert, and that was it. It was like 5 pages, and that's what got me like Bon Appetit, and that rolled into like McDonald's, and then Sara Lee and Hunt's tomato ketchup or whatever it was, Wow, so I ended up getting a bunch of clients and stuff like that. But yeah, it was like, hard copies of things, and then, sending them all out to everybody. And then
that had to be some cash and time.
At the time, yes. At the time, it was phenomenal. No kids. My wife and I are traveling and having fun. This is great.
Yeah, I understand that part.
Those days are gone.
Yeah. What do you do?
Yeah.
And then eventually they'll be back. And then I guess, I don't know, you either enjoy it or you miss the kids being around. It depends on who you talk to, I guess.
Yep.
Tammy's always worried that and I even asked a friend of mine who had their kids finally went out, and she was like, when all the kids are out of the house, what do you talk about? What do you do? And everybody I've talked to, she's like, oh, you figure it out. It'll be fine. You go on more trips, you enjoy the quiet a little more. I don't know.
We'll see about that.
Yeah, exactly. We'll figure it out. Okay, so tell me how you got to Coldwater Creek.
So during whenever that was, 2000, the stock market,
like 2008 or whatever. Yeah.
No, actually 2000. I think it was 2000 or 2001.
Oh yeah. That was before. Yeah.
First, well, no. Oh, I know. I'm sorry. So like 98. I had 5 solid clients that I would work with every month. I mean, perfect. And then I had a rep who would just fill in little jobs in between, and things were just rolling right along, and very consistent. And then in a 3-month period, I lost all 5 of those clients. One the art director wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, so she quit. And then one wanted to write a book, and oh my gosh, and then one got fired, and one, I'm like, I'm panicking, and my reps wasn't able to really, because that was huge. I mean, that was 5 clients that sustained us no problem for a month.
Yeah, I mean, I could understand 1 or 2 maybe dropping off, but all 5 deciding at the same, that's harsh.
It was wild. So in my panic, I ended up kind of shutting the studio down. And because there was a big expense, and I there was a studio that was in downtown Pasadena that you could rent an office space above and then rent their studio downstairs whenever you got work. And so I shut that studio down and cried all the way over to the new studio office, and and then I just did that. And then I was at lunch one day, around the corner, and I ended up meeting a guy who worked for this company called Idea Lab. And what it was is an incubator site where they just were churning out company after company after company. And we were talking, and he goes, man, you should come and talk. I'll set up a meeting with you. You can talk to this guy, and we have just tons of companies. So I'm trying to remember their big ones, but it was a time that like it was insane. I mean, it was an insane time because you had people who wanted to invest in them, and it was like get quick rich scheme kind of thing. And like I remember I saw Shaquille O'Neal walking into their offices, and it's like, whoa,
wow.
And he was going to invest in all these different companies, whatever. So I ended up shooting, and it turned out there was so much work there with all these different companies that I just started hiring my friends to like, hey, I need you here. And then I just almost became like a producer, like shoot, just shoot. And we had all these different small companies that needed stuff for, like one was it's called myhome.com, and they had home furnishings like doorknobs and drawer pulls and just crazy little tiny nothing things, but there was billions of them, and so it was just like a constant thing. And so we're humping, going crazy. So my studio went down, but then I got this job, and then the .com boom died, and I found this. I had a buddy who was a recruiter in San Francisco, and he called me. He goes, "Hey, would you ever consider moving to Idaho?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I would move in a second." Unfortunately, my wife would never move. And he's like, "Oh, well, they're recruiting. They want to start their own studio. Just take it as a trip and go have fun." And at the time, we had just adopted our first son, or our only son, but he was our first child. And I told my wife, and she's like, "Yeah, that's fun. Let's go do it." And so we went, and they rolled out this red carpet, and they were so nice. And I remember the one thing that stood out was it was right around Christmas time, and I was in interviews, but they sent a car to go get my wife and son and picked them up and brought them back because Santa Claus was going to be in the office.
Oh,
and
wow.
Pictures and stuff, and I thought that is the nicest thing. And it's just like, they didn't have to do that. And they did that, and I was kind of blown away by that. And then, it was also a little teeny tiny nothing town, Sandpoint, Idaho. And, we drove around in this winter wonderland, and I saw a bald eagle, and we saw a moose. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I would move here in a second. And just on the way back to the airport, driving home, I'm talking to my wife, like, "Hey, what did you think?" And she's like, I kind of like it. And we're like, okay. And so we just did it. We made the move, and I drove up like 3 months before she did. And then she came up, and it took her about a year to really kind of get in. Obviously, she missed her friends and her family.
Yeah.
And, but, I knew going into it that if I need to get over any kind of shyness or inability to talk to people, and if this is going to happen. So I immersed myself in it, and we made friends pretty quick. And today our closest friends, we still, we're in Chicago now, but they're still our closest friends that we would, go out of our way with to spend time with.
Oh,
But
that's cool.
the Coldwater's awesome. Coldwater was great, super fun company. We ended up having at our height five photographers, which was great because we were all about the same age, all about the same experience, and all about kind of the things that we like. Obviously, if you go there, you gotta like the outside, and you gotta like spending time, and so we had a ski hill, and we had a lake, and one of the guys had a boat, and we would go wakeboarding in the morning before work, and we'd show up in board shorts to work, and like people looked like we were like our own crew, man. Photo studio, it was something else, man. It was those were possibly the best times in photography that we've ever had. It was just, I've never had an experience in a corporate environment like that. That was the first time. I really missed all the freelance stuff, which was phenomenal. But this was, if I had to get away from the freelance stuff, this was a great place to be.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It sounds like a perfect job, man.
It was. I mean, we really want to retire back there. But we'll see how that rolls out.
Right. Yeah. So you left Coldwater Creek and went straight to Lowe's. Is that right? Is that what I remember?
So so we were there for 10 years. And then in the 10th year, we had now we've adopted 2 kids. And then we had a baby. First of all, I was too old to have a baby. And second, I was too old to have a baby. We were told we couldn't have kids. And so, holy cow. Well, it turns out she had all kinds of medical needs. And in the closest children's hospital was an hour and a half away. Wow. And, in the middle of winter, it was brutal, having to drive there, especially if it was kind of an emergency, getting there was frightening at times.
Yeah, I bet.
And, so no one could figure her out. And our pediatrician was this wonderful lady. And she just said, if you guys feel like you need to move somewhere, go to North Carolina and get involved with the Research Triangle. And, they'll figure Maya out. And so I started looking, and I found that job at Lowe's, and I flew out and interviewed for it, and I got it. And, so we were just back and forth. And
what was your title at Lowe's? Because you weren't shooting, right?
No. I was just the manager. Lowe's is massive. I was manager of the photography, basically. And so I was really initially there for, they used to do Wednesday mailers, like in your newspaper or you mailed to you. They had a mail, and that's all I was doing. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool, whatever. And so I started doing that, and we elevated that was their big charge to me, was we want to elevate our photography.
But were you shooting any of that, or you just overseeing it all?
No, but they also had like 5 or 6 studios in North Carolina, or in northern North Carolina, Greensboro or High Point, that they would use. And they wanted me to evaluate them and narrow it down a little bit, but then take the ones that you liked and then let's elevate them. Let's make them better photographers. And everything they used to shoot was just like flat as a pancake, just there was no real lighting. And so I really hound, and probably people hated me for it because I would really push them hard. I want to see shape. And we're only looking at a 2-dimensional image, and you have to be able to look at it and go make it look 3-dimensional. Well, you gotta show shape, and you gotta show highlight and shadow, and all these things that are important, and showing texture. And it was almost like I was speaking Chinese at times. Couldn't grasp that concept. So, so we kind of evaluated, and then they go, wow, you're doing a great job, which I took as I was doing a good job. So they go, well, we want you to do the web stuff. And then that kind of grew, and then it grew and it grew. And they said, they came to us one time and they go, we want you to do anything that is photographic for Lowe's. I'm like, I'm one guy.
Did you get a raise with this?
I go, this is insane. And I think, I don't remember exactly, but I mean, my producer, Diana, you know Diana.
Yeah.
I think we just hit it off.
Yeah, we actually interviewed Diana last week. I interviewed her for this.
I saw a post you did about it. I hadn't watched it yet, though, but I was going to. And I got a long train ride, so I got nothing to do. And so I think we had a great working relationship. She taught me a lot about producing, and hopefully I taught her a lot about photography. And we just hit it off. And I thought, let's look for local photographers that we can utilize. And I always felt like I could look at someone's webpage or portfolio, and I can see how your vision works, and how you're lighting things, stuff like that. And I could evaluate, okay, this guy, we want to talk to this guy. I don't think we want to talk to this guy. So we would have, like any corporate place, we'd have photographers calling all the time, hey, look at my book, blah, blah. And I got kind of tired of that, and I thought, let's go call them, and then let's go interview them off this place, this the massive campus at Lowe's. So we go and find a bar or something and just hang out. And I felt like that was a more comfortable situation. And I like drinking beer. I felt like, hey, this is a good place.
Yeah.
We came on and, but also, you know, one of my thoughts too was, you know, for me, we would do these long shoots, you know, maybe a week, maybe a month. I want to be with someone who I get along with and I know will get along with others and is, you know, has and obviously a good photographer, right? And if there's something that's lacking, I'm hopefully going to be able to pick up that slack and say, hey, let's do it. Maybe if we did it this way, or maybe we took a lower perspective or upper, you know, higher perspective, something I think I could help out. So,
which you were really good at that too. I mean, you were good at giving suggestions or telling, at least me, when we were shooting, what you thought would make the image better. And you did it in a way that didn't make me feel like you were being an ass and telling me I had to shoot it this way, you know, or whatever. You know, you did it in a really great way. And we'd shoot it and you're like, oh, damn, this dude is on top of things. Yeah. I mean, I actually got a little nervous when you were standing around. I was like, oh, shit, Drew's right behind me watching what I'm shooting.
But I think we always made it. I feel like we always made it, first of all, a fun atmosphere where I think we would get the best out of people instead of, you know, like you said, hoarding over someone like, shoot it this way. I don't think anyone, you know, you're not going to be, you know, easy enough to be able to make this call and move it over here. Hey, I'm going to do this. Awesome. Do it. You know, I think that's why we always got, I mean, you know, let me just pat myself on the back. I feel like we got the best out of people because we valued what they did, and then we didn't micromanage what they did. But if there was an aspect that I needed, you know, because a lot of stuff was going to go to print, hey, I got to have shadow detail, right? So let's just give me a little more fill, or give me, you know, something, or let's look at this thing. So we got this shot. Now, how about if we went down lower?
Well, I think it was great because I remember we were shooting a generator on location one day, and I don't shoot product. And so you're like, we need you to shoot this generator. I'm like, okay. So we put in a spot. I got the light where I thought I liked it and it looked good. And I took a couple of shots. You looked down and was like, why don't we put in a black card over here? You know, we took this big V flat that was black, slapped it on the side. All of a sudden, this thing had a little more shape. You know, it blocked the light from hitting and reflecting back onto that side, and it looked so much better. And it was just that one card. And I was like, it was amazing. And the way you did it didn't make me feel like I was an idiot for not thinking of it on my own. And so I was very happy with the whole thing. And I learned from that too. I was like, okay, I don't shoot product, but if I do, this is a great lesson to know that sometimes you need to put in this, you know, this black V flat or whatever over here to kind of give it more shape. And
yeah,
that was really nice.
The most underutilized fill card out there. Creative fill, and you need it to create that. And especially as a fashion photographer, you definitely want to use a lot of that.
Yeah, and those I get. Yeah, for me, like with shooting people, I understood, you know, where to put the fill card, where to put the black and that, but it never occurred to me on the product because, like I said, I don't shoot it. So when we did it, it was pretty cool. What was it like the first time you were on this one? I've always wondered this. The first time you went on set and you weren't shooting, what was that like? Because I think for me, that would it would be a little nerve-wracking and a little irritating.
It was initially hard because, like you said, I don't want to make someone feel like a jackass, right? But I want to be able to interject. And you know, those studios in North Carolina, they're a great, you know, turn them out.
Right. Yeah.
Studio. They have a lot of good photographers and they have a lot of young photographers. And I think one of the things they do poorly is to develop their young photographers. I don't think they do a good job doing that. And I think they need, if they would spend that time, I think they, you know, would get these kids and they put them in there and like, you're a photographer, go. And they just make them start shooting, and without the instruction of like how to develop your eye, how to look at something and say, that's how I need to light it. You know, I always would tell them, I go, this one photographer told me, he goes, "Oh, I just use a standard 7 light thing." I'm like, "You do what?" He goes, "Yeah, it's a standard." I'm like, "Okay, stop. There is nothing standard about lighting." I go, the product, the person is going to dictate how you light that object. To say I put 7 lights on this thing, like, you're freaking me out.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And so we, and so when Lowe's said, "Hey, you're going to be everything photographically," we started shooting the executives. And I know you remember this.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And so this was another department, way on the other side, some other building that I had never even been over to. And they go, "Yeah, we're doing this executive photo shoot, and here's the photographer you're going to use." And I'm like, "Hold the phone, chief. Where do we get this guy?" He's under contract with us. And I go, "Okay." And I looked at his portfolio. I'm like, this guy is a phenomenal editorial photographer, but he's not a fashion, or not necessarily fashion, but a corporate photographer, right? I looked at his portraits, and they looked like jail pictures, square to the camera, flat light.
Right.
And so I helped him initially. I don't know if he felt it was help, but I was obligated to use him this first time, and I ended up going back to the people and I said, "Look, this is a Fortune 50 company, and we have we have people, our CEOs and CFOs and all these Cs that are the face of this company, and you're telling me you want to use this prison picture for them, for Fortune magazine or something like that?" I go, these guys are the face. We need them to look good. And so we brought you in, we brought some other guy in, and we elevated that alone. And so from the very first one, they decided to redo everyone's picture. So,
right, yeah,
whatever the new, like whatever 4 or 5 C's of hardware, I don't know whatever they were, but they did the first ones, and then they saw those, and they're like, "Wow, these are so much better than the previous ones. Let's redo everybody's." So like Robert, I can't remember his name now.
Niblock,
that's right.
Yeah.
Robert Niblock. I'm like, holy cow, this is the CEO of Lowe's right here, and this guy's pretty high-powered dude. But then we had all those guys, and they're all very genuine.
Yeah, I think that was the first shoot I actually did for you, was shooting him and the CFO. So it was like the CEO and CFO of Lowe's was the first shoot I did with you.
Yeah, was that the first one, or we didn't do? I thought we did. I don't know.
I think it was because it was that. I think it was the head. I think it was him, because we went and used we were at the TV studio.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we shot that. I think that was the first one.
Yeah, we did Diane and I did a lot of things that were considered not good at Lowe's. And, but I think the thing that I learned most from Diana was that it never hurts to ask, right? And I knew we had that studio. They don't use it every day. I go, what we can do? We can utilize it. So and they were like, "No, you can't ever go over there. You can't ever do it." I'm like, Diane's like, "Let's go ask." I'm like, "Yeah, let's go ask." And we go over and I'm like, "Yeah, you can use it anytime you want." Okay. Or shooting around campus. Did you do that with us? We shot around.
Yeah, we shot all around campus. Yeah.
I'm like, what? I go, "Let's go ask." And we asked somebody, and like, "Yeah, sure." That's I'm like, okay. Then we ended up I thought we made really beautiful pictures just right on campus. That campus is so massive. But
the campus is great too. Yeah.
I thought we just did a really great job for being handcuffed a lot. And I credit Diana 100% because she was just, she was that type of person. And then I really glommed onto her like, "Hey, go ask that guy for this thing." "Got it." And she'd go over, "Oh, got it." I guess it doesn't help to be a cute little Asian girl who can
that doesn't hurt at all. Yeah. Most guys would be like, "Okay, what do you need?"
Yeah, if I went over there, they're like, "No." And I go, "You go." She's like, "Okay." And she embraced it and took it, and man, we got stuff. Awesome. Just great.
Yeah, that was fun, man. I enjoyed working with you over there.
Thanks.
Yeah, I really had a good time. So tell me about Wilson, man. How'd you get in there? What's the deal with that? Because from what I'm seeing, you're shooting some cool stuff. Because there's stuff you've been posting. I'm like, I want to shoot that.
No,
So
I'll tell you, I don't know if there was a job that was made for me, but I feel like this job was made for me. I really do love sports, and now we have the opportunity to do product stuff and like work with our PGA professionals or our AVP professionals, or Roger Federer, Serena Williams, things like that. I think this is like the most absolute perfect job for me. So in between North Carolina, we had moved to Louisville, took a job that we won't really talk about.
yeah, I was skipping over
It
that
was
one.
going to be it was going to be one way and turned out another way, and it was terrible. And then I went freelance again, and Diana helped me out again. Kind of became my rep, got me this job, and it's having insurance is really important for us right now.
Oh yeah.
And so we did this great. I can't remember. There's a shoe company. I don't remember what it was.
Rack Room.
Rack Room.
Yeah, because I remember when you were doing
like
that.
Once a month, and that's definitely sustained us for a couple months. But I felt like the Obamacare was expensive, vital, and we needed it, and it was great to have. But I felt like a lot of our money was going towards that, and we just needed a steady insurance. And so I had just looked around, saw this job at Wilson. I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. I go, well, just sent a resume and my website, and never heard anything. And like 6 months later, I go, gosh, I wonder if anything ever came of that. And I click again, and it's still on there. And that's really bizarre. So I went on to LinkedIn, and this never happens, and everyone does it, and it never happens. But I found the creative director, and I just sent him an email and just said, hey, man, I noticed you got this job for a photographer. And I had just shot a freelance. I shot a Louisville Slugger Museum. The guy who is in charge of making all the Major League players' baseball bats. He's called the Lumberjack.
Oh, wow.
A great guy. I did this portrait of him. I could actually, one of my favorite portraits that I've done, in front of all these raw blanks of baseball bats. And I just noticed that Wilson had just purchased Louisville Slugger. And I sent that along with the email. And I said, hey, and if, I saw you guys own this company now, and here's the portrait I just did, And the next day, the head of the production department called me and said, hey, we saw your website, and we're so thankful you reached out. Would you ever come and freelance for us up here in Chicago? And I go, well, actually, I'm going to be there. My brother lives there. We're going to go up for Thanksgiving. I can come up a day early and meet you guys. And he's like, great. And so they came, or I came up there and I met them and kind of walked around their offices. And for a big company, it's a pretty small operation, and they're pretty lean. And but it was great. And I freelanced. And once again, I'm not patting myself on the back. It's just the way it worked out. He goes, I got 6 weeks of work for you. Do you want to take it? I'm like, yeah, sure. And it was whatever year it was, this is all of our brand new baseball mitts. And they would just shoot, like the down shot, the back, and the palm. That was it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool. Yeah, I can do this, And so I put headphones on, and I just, worked at my own pace. I wasn't busting my butt, and I thought, 6 weeks of this, whatever, and I was done in a week. And I go, I don't want to give up 5 weeks worth of work.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so I went back to him and I said, hey, man, just a heads up, the work that you gave me, I'm done with it. And he's like, what? And I go, I don't really want to give up 5 weeks of work, but I don't want to, burn you guys by sitting there twiddling my thumbs either. And he's like, oh, no, we'll find more stuff for you. And so sure enough, they found more stuff. And then I would kind of test on my own. And I did some tests of different lighting. I go, hey, what do you guys think of this? And what do you guys think of this? And I threw out different things. And they're like, what is going on? I guess they had a photographer who was there for like 35 years. And
it must have been extremely slow.
Well, no, at times it was.
No. I mean, their photographer before must have been very slow. If they said this is 6 weeks of work and you did it in a week.
Well, I don't know if he was necessarily slow. It was just he had his own pace of working,
Slowly.
Okay, but whatever it was. But and then they started talking about like, hey, we shoot, we're doing some location things and whatever. It turned out there's like, they came to me and they said, hey, or they looked at like 2 or 3 more people and then they came and said, hey, we want to offer you the job. And like, awesome, do a little negotiating back and forth. And they go, well, generally we only hire locally, but one of the things we know is our moving expenses. We've moved so much. And actually, if we ever moved again, my wife would kill me. So that'd be it. So yeah, we're here now, and actually just got back from a week in Orlando and a week in Scottsdale. We were shooting we have a brand new Gary Woodland, who won the U.S. Open last year, and we just signed Kevin Tway, another golfer, and we have Brendan Steele and Kevin Streelman and Podrick Harrington and Ricky Barnes, and it's just they're all, I don't know what it is about Wilson, but they always sign people who are generally nice. They're not
that's good.
interested in any way. I mean, this is Gary Woodland, man. The dude just won the U.S. Open, but he was just like the most personable guy. He's like, hey, how's it going? Roger Federer, the greatest tennis player of all time.
Yeah.
The nicest human being. He's in the corporate office. Is the first time he'd ever been to the corporate office, and he's been with Wilson, I think, his entire career. He stood for 300 one-on-one photographs with every single employee, and he stood there and he smiled and he was happy to do it, and he was just like, and he talked to everyone.
Wow, that's incredible.
It was great. I mean, and I did a video of him because we'd have to do something for China, and he walked in with this entourage of people. And he stopped and he's like, hi, I'm Roger. And I go, yeah, no kidding. But we just sat there and talked for a little bit. And I was like, this guy is something else. I mean, it's just, I don't know, I was just blown away. I'm blown away by famous, not necessarily famous people, but people in the public eye who are actual nice human beings. Golfers, they all joke around. We've been to their house for dinner. It's great. It's just, they're just genuinely.
Dude, it sounds like a great gig. Yeah,
it's really, wow. It is phenomenal.
Is there anybody you've met so far there that you've just been like, I can't believe I'm getting ready to shoot this person?
Well, Federer was one. I mean, of everyone. I mean, we have a bunch of baseball players, and a lot of them come into the office during like either the All-Star break, or if they're in town, like if they're playing the White Sox or the Cubs. They may come in for it's called Players Weekend, and they like MLB is very strict on your glove. Like it could be brown, black, or blue, or whatever.
Right.
But for the Players Weekend, they do all kinds of crazy things. And our team goes, oh, like we have these 2 Pittsburgh Pirate pitchers in. And they go, oh, for mine, I want to do like the Clemente Bridge on the web of my glove. So, oh, that's cool. And then I want, this say here, and I want something here. And they design it. And we have this huge screen and this like app builder, and they build their glove live. And they go, yeah, that's what I want. And it's really
that's cool.
Quite cool. And then like Christian Yelich came in. I'm waiting for Bellinger to come in. Any doctor to come in. That's what I'm waiting for. So
wow, yeah, dude, that sounds like a great job. Yeah.
It's fun. We were in Florida at Florida State University, and we had Will Smith at the time was AAA catcher for the Dodgers, and we had Joe Adele, who was the number 3 pick overall for the Angels. And both of these guys, and I'm like in between, I'm just hanging out, like I'm telling them, oh, this is your year, and Will Smith only because I follow the Dodgers, but I'm like, man, this is your year. You're gonna send Russell Wilson. I can't remember his name. Never mind. But you're going to send him to the old folks home. He's retiring. You're taking over. You're going to be, boom, this year or last year was his first year up. He played great. I take full credit for
that. Well, you predicted it, so you should. Exactly. Yeah, you're the one. You put it in his head.
I encouraged him along the way. This is your
You
year.
gave him the mental vision that was going to happen. It's because of you. I'm with you, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it was.
All right. So last question. Tell me, what is the strangest thing you've encountered in this business?
Oh, the strangest thing. That's you should
or something that just made you like, wow, I cannot believe that just happened.
I guarantee there's one. Off the top of my head, I can't think of something though. Strangest thing. I only say this because you're here. Remember when we were at that location up in
Oh my God.
we were shooting the guns after the shoot.
Yeah.
I was sitting there just going, I'm shooting a gun after a photo shoot on some guy's property. Oh, how about when we cut down that big tree?
That's where I thought you were going with this.
Oh, like right over here. Like, oh, you know what? If we just got rid of that tree, that would be awesome. And you're like, well, I'll take care of it. Cuts down the tree. It wasn't a small tree.
Yeah.
That was just wild. You know, I was like, oh, this is all right.
That was interesting. Do you remember going back to the hotel that after, I think it was day 1 or day 2 of that shoot? We were going back and we were following whoever one of the art directors was at the time. And they were following their GPS and we took the wrong turn. And we went down, and I was looking at my GPS going, I don't think this is where we're supposed to be going. And we took a turn down some kind of dirt road, and then that turned down a gravel road, and it was like trailers in the woods. And there was a huge rebel flag hanging outside of one trailer. And this was like,
I do remember that.
Yeah, I mean, it was like
I heard place you went.
You heard somebody saying "squeal like a pig." Yeah. He got out of there quick.
I do remember that. Yeah, that was an odd choice. I think was it Lewis? Was it Jeff Lewis who was driving?
Jeff Lewis was on the shoot, but he wasn't the one that took us there. There was some other dude. I don't think he was. I don't think you were a fan of him to begin with, and that didn't help. The fact that he took us the wrong way.
I don't know. I
can't remember.
I generally liked all of our art directors. Yeah, we had good relationship. That was one of the great things I think is I was able to go from that originally at Lowe's on the production side, and then they moved me into the creative side, which was a great move because I spent more time with the designers and art directors, and I could work directly with them. So I generally liked all those guys. There were photographers who didn't necessarily, but as Bastardo used to say, you are the fire chief. That's all you do is put out fires. So
yeah,
I tried to embrace that.
Well, you did a good job of it, at least from what I could tell.
Thanks. Yeah, it was fun. It was a great time. I did really enjoy my time at Lowe's. I wish it would have gone a little differently, but the time we were there, I think we affected a lot of stuff, and we definitely made their look and feel a better look and feel.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you got this job at Wilson, man. I'm very happy for you for that. Really, that's really cool.
It's really great. Now, if we could take it and move it to Idaho, man, it's the best of all worlds.
Well, good luck with making that happen.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, dude, thank you very much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. If you guys listening, watching, if you like this, please subscribe, like it, share it, tell all your friends about it, all that kind of stuff. And be sure and tune in for the next Behind the Visual. Thank you again, Drew. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for asking me.